Welcome back for the collective energy forecast for June 2019. My name is Yona Brendis, and as always, I'm going to assist you and try to give you an overview over what to expect so that you can adjust, so that you can make better choices in this month. Also, for those of you who are part of the self-healing community worldwide and who are diligently working on your inner energies and doing your homework, all right, see this as a strategy for you, all right. Try to see these energies, these resonances that I report about as pathfinder, okay, that you can use to remind yourself when you get caught in lower vibratory places or when you go through a dark night of the soul, all right. So let's look at what these energies are. The main resonances coming in here in June are respect, respectively self-respect. This will be a big one for you guys. Integrity, unity, and peace. And while this sounds all sort of beautiful, I want to warn you though, this is a very tricky month, a month that will basically pave the way to a really, really intense summer here in the Northern Hemisphere. We're looking at 3 months of extremely disruptive events. You're gonna have to brace yourself, all right? So I'm trying to find the ways here for you to out-vibrate this collective experience and report for those of you who have identified already that you are energetically sensitives and empaths. So these incoming June energies, they're asking us to internally deal with resolving our fragmentation and especially this isolation, this feeling of being alone, all right? This is something that most empaths have in common. The big challenge that comes with this is facing our own inner resentments and anger and frustration, since things are not going how we expected them, no matter how positive we were thinking or trying to manifest or hoped for. All right, so we as always go into the self-doubt and perhaps even rediscover or discover or see this narcissistic core of our ego as well. This often leads people into blaming others, and into seeing themselves as a victim. You've got to understand that fear, anger, and victimhood are basically the weapons, are basically these control mechanisms that the collective matrix uses against us. It will not make it any better, on the contrary. So it requires us to look deeply into those self-doubts and perhaps even admitting to ourselves or acknowledging how we are more or less just trying to check out and, use the outer drama and the dark forces and whatnot as a way to cop out. In the month of June, this will be a really, really big mistake. It's always a big mistake, but here you're going to miss out on the truth. June will bring disruption on all levels. And it will be really hard not to get pulled into our own or other people's dramas. All right, so if you are copping out, if you're checking out, you're not going to be able to discern this. You're just going to get swept away. So it takes a little discipline, okay, to not get into this infantile ego state and throw tantrums, when we're frustrated or project everything onto our partners or kids or bosses. To counteract this, it'll be of utmost importance to know how to discipline yourself before you speak, and especially before you attack others. So there is this sort of hostile attitude that comes in here in June, and it will really require you to go into this place where you can acknowledge your own part. The true power of this highly transformational energy that we are dealing with in June comes through discernment and wisdom. And that can only be accessed if you are in a place of truth where you can acknowledge, where you can witness truth. So observing and witnessing from your heart. And always checking in with yourself. This will be the best strategy for June to prevent unnecessary havoc, unnecessary drama in your life. Okay, this is a refinement process, and please don't understand this as sort of the next impending doom. It will allow us to become more clear about our true values, needs, and priorities, and ultimately lead us to finding a stronger sense of self, and with that also true security in knowing who we are. Not the false security, that our false self and our ego suggest. So we don't need to wait for the drama to give us the reason to change things. All right? If you know that something isn't working for you, change it. If you feel drawn to move or relocate, do it. Your energy will be more fragmented, and with it, more susceptible to outer, collective energies, other people's projections, and also the energies that are stored in places such as workplaces or even houses, if you stay. The world and all of us humans are entering the next stage of spiritual embodiment, guys, and this is not going to go easy. This requires a lot of physicality too, because it needs to be anchored, ready or not. If we're still struggling with recognizing that we are souls in a body and not bodies with a soul, this month will be full of resistance, physical pain as well, but also fear and a lot of crazy making. Learning how to discern energies is the task here, and this requires us to learn. It requires us to go into higher ways of learning. I call this meta learning. These incoming higher vibratory energies, they will trigger our soul self, and that is actually a really beautiful antidote to all the chaos and all the stress and drama that is going on around us. But not only will this maybe motivate us or pull us into reading things or learning and training spiritual teachings, gurus, and so forth, but it will also confuse us. It will also bring forward some old programs that are part of our collective experience that have to do with religious programming. So you need to be careful to not fall for any type of guru or group or teaching that has a different agenda. All right. So for that, you really need to learn how to feel truth, and the way that is being taught to us, the way how this is coming in, we're getting really, really clear instructions this month, is through the language of our soul. Listen to your soul speaking, guys, and tune into your divine Wi-Fi. You all can do this. Now, if this sounds a little too woo for you, remember that overcoming fears is mostly just about overcoming rigid mindsets, belief systems, and superstition. Okay, it's the fear of the unknown. So the more open you are to checking in with your true self, within, and allowing your inner guidance to speak to you, the easier it will be for you to hear this inner guidance and to decode this language of your soul. This will come in a little differently for each and every one of us. This is why it's so important that you have your first-hand experience. You can't, go by hearsay or by somebody's second-hand experience. You're going to have to experience this yourself, and you can. This is really the message here for June, is to listen to your inner guidance and have the courage to trust in your perception as your primary navigation system. You don't need anyone to tell you what is right for you, because when you're tuned in to your inner divine Wi-Fi, you can clearly feel what is true for you, what is advantageous for you, what is expansive for you, and what isn't. Declare yourself and what you stand for. For some of you, this will also mean that you're going to have to look or maybe evaluate commitments and promises, including previous vows or contracts or oaths, marriages, for example, or business contracts, invisible contracts. And also for those of you aware of it in past lives, there can be oaths and contracts and past lives that can hold you back. So by the end of this collective wave, it will be very important that you know how to show up according to your highest levels of values and virtues, and that you know which these contracts are that you are signing up for. You have to learn how to clear, how to cut these cords to things that are no longer beneficial for you, all right? For the greater events that will unfold in the next couple of years, you need to know what you stand for, all right? Or else you're going to fall for anything. There are very difficult aspects here that come in with June, right at the beginning, right in the next, weekend. We will be forced to increase our emotional literacy. We're going to have to really tune into this sense of what it is that we are feeling and how to express this. Okay? Feeling, sensing, emoting, and expressing. This is very important, because without us being able to really have this language to express our deeper feelings, it will be very difficult for us to feel that we are not alone. The destructiveness, of that is going on around us, of people lashing out and harsh words, in the media, in politics, and so forth, will go very, very far this month. So don't you be one of them, okay? This is going to be really crazy and very, very destructive. So outer energies will be at the height of defensiveness and righteousness in the week after that. So the second week of June will unleash this war of beliefs that I mentioned before. This will play out in the political and religious and social rebuttals, trials and threats, law and order, divine justice. News will be full of it, and you can imagine, that it will be hard to not get pulled into this when everybody's talking about these things. So you cannot be afraid of, these outer things coming in. You have to learn how to let this go through you and feel competent, all right, that that you can make your stance in all this. The world is not going down the drain, or guys, the world is evolving, and the people here have to learn how to do this. So there's a little bit of humor in this, but when it comes to rebuilding, something, or when it comes to going through this transition from one paradigm and another, as I said before, there is a deconstruction needed so that things can be rebuilt. These new paradigms, that are based on peace and unity. Not so much in a spiritual sense, in a very practical sense. They require sometimes bittersweet measures. Okay? So remember, old things have to leave so that new things can come in. These resistances that we feel in the collective, guys, you got to understand that they mirror our inner resistances, and it will, pressure us, into reactivity, into making hasty decisions. And these will be not good for us. These won't be good for us. So they will reach farther than we are actually willing to take responsibility for. So I would like to remind you of caution here with your reactivity. This is why it's so important to develop this discipline, to check in with your heart's navigator, okay? Know how to connect within. This will give you the instructions as to how to tap into your divine Wi-Fi. There are very, very clear instructions right now. This sounds a bit dippy, but don't laugh about people when they talk in this way. Don't be afraid of using these spiritual terms, okay? Now, there are also people that fall into neurosis, or into their Jesus complex, or into, God told me, and so forth. Understand that this is all real for these people, but it's not necessarily true the way they interpret it, okay? Divine Wi-Fi is the greater and more reliable source of information and communication in the future, guys, and we're going to learn how to communicate with another through the divine Wi-Fi, which I find is very, very exciting, because I have been doing this here for a long time already. This will be a breakthrough for those of you who know how to connect with their true self and especially their future self, because you can actually create such a feedback loop with your future self as well. So if you listen closely, you will receive very, very detailed instructions. But the question is, can you listen? Can you trust in your inner guidance? Those of you who actively work with these aspects, guys, I mean, if you really want to feel empowered here in those really sort of disruptive times, we are going to see more terrorism, we're going to see continued crazy weather patterns, especially with earth and air, and this could indicate more tornadoes and so forth. So we all need to be prepared that things are changing and embrace it. We need to let go of what is no longer serving us, so that it become easier for us to be adaptable. So that we can learn that when we trust in our inner guidance, that it will provide for us, and it will give us the needed clarity, of what feels supportive, what feels integrous, what feels respectful, and what unites. This is the part here that you really need to look into, is what unites me, what is inclusive, what gives me more options, as opposed to what cut things down, what cuts things down, what feels like if I do this, then I have to lose this, or I can't do this, or if I do something for myself, I'm doing something against you. So as outer chaos, and people sometimes feel sort of very attacking to us, it will also make us move closer. So let's hope that we don't have to wait till this big drama hits as good reason to move closer together. Let's hope that we can all find unity within first, so that this can replicate into the collective, one soul at a time. It will show us all that our positionalities, our rigid beliefs, is something that separates us from another, and that even though it comes with a sense of security that is false, though, we cannot really see how it actually makes things more separated. Overall, the next 6 weeks, roughly, they will be triggering a lot of our unhealed aspects within, guys, but this will give you an opportunity to make corrections. It is much easier for you now to recognize and to discern when your own energies are compromised. So I want to give you a head start here, because you will feel strengthened in your position, and it will give you a renewed sense of self, like a quickening almost. Again, those of us who have been working on this, and doing this inner work on transcending those wounded aspects and shadow aspects within us, all right, we will begin to feel a new strength. And this strength is coming from within. Those who have been ignoring the many wake-up calls will now begin to experience the consequences, and they will start seeing that what we have been talking about, even if it maybe in the past didn't come out right, is quite interesting now. They will start wanting to see truth. So our inner and outer worlds, they will shadow a little bit and then merge. And this will force us all to own our own truths. It can be challenging for many around us. You have to expect that, especially since it, will affect the people's moods, the people's rage. It will trigger their reactivity. Do not interfere, especially if it's your loved ones, okay? Focus on what you can do to maintain your own integrity and your own respect in order to do what needs to be done while maintaining, your inner heart connection. The resonance of liberation that comes in as sort of the overall medicine for June will give you instructions on how to discern and how to trust in your inner ability to be present enough to sense when you are with people who are true, who are supportive, and who are respectful, and when it's needed to stand up and walk out, when they're not. This month, you will find the energetic tune-up alignment here. The last 10 minutes will be for you to realign your energies when you walk into or when you fall into this abyss, the dark night of the soul, and to strengthen and re-energize this liberated soul self that wants to come into your life now. Thank you very much. Don't forget to share, please. Let everybody know where you're getting your info from, and I love to see you next week in the energy update for week 23. Bye-bye. Energetic adjustment, liberation. To the love and peace within, I dedicate myself. I am one with my true self, the part in me that is unchanging, eternal, and infinite. I embrace change as the evolutionary path of my being. And trust in my true self to guide me to unfold my highest potential. I accept all limitations as learning experiences and feel nothing but gratitude for any opportunity to grow. I willingly and voluntarily choose to let go of everything that no longer serves me, including my own illusions, coping, and enabling. For this, I consciously focus on what is true and important to me. I let go of my focus on anything that is self-degrading and weakening. And I refrain from promises that I can't or don't want to hold, so I can respect myself and others at all times. I only dedicate myself to what supports and honors me and others. Due to my alignment to the divine consciousness permeating through me, I am respecting integrity above all. I devote my energy to be open for truth on all levels, so I can surrender any resistance in or around me to my inner higher power. The more I resist, the more I succumb to ego. Through connecting with the power in my heart, I hear with clear all feelings of not belonging or not being wanted. And I let go of attachments, limitations, self-imposed restrictions, energetic ties and karmic binds in any dimension or time to any person, entity, or ego perception. Nothing and no one has the right to disrespect my values for as long as I respect myself. I let go of the need to fight for my space, integrity, values, or worth. I have the right to be here, and I belong here, now and at all times. I now understand that the more I want my true self, the more wanted I can feel. Yes, I love who I am. True self, thank you for my energetic sensitivity, as it shows me when I need to stand my ground and when I need to let go, when I need to self-correct and when I need to shift. You guide me to grow beyond what my ego cannot see. And you're there for me to support me with the wisdom of my united heart and mind. I can rest now in my heart. As there is nothing left to do than to live and create my life in love. Thank you.